Hello, everybody. We're going to spotlight ourselves so we can see you all. Welcome to Smithsonian's National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute. I am KADEN. My pronouns are they and them. You can see me holding a California tiger salamander right here. So we are going to get started with our really fun program today called Aquatic Animal Habitats. And if you're wondering where I am here at Smithsonian's National Zoo. Some of you might have been here before, some of you might not have. But we are located here in Washington, D.C. You can see where the red dot is on the east coast of the United States, and you might be able to find yourself right there on the map as well. Today, we are going to explore American Trail. And you can see a picture of part of American Trail here at the zoo, and maybe even some of the animals you might recognize on the sign. But we're going to check out some of our animals here and talk about some aquatic animal habitats. Before we dive in, though, I have a joke. Why did the seal cross the road to the zoo? You can pop your answers in the chat if you would like, or turn and tell your neighbor, or raise your hand and tell your teacher. Let's see. Oh, I see, to get to the Biology Institute, maybe for free food, to seal me, to get to the ball, to find a toy. Oh, I think some people may have joined last time, and I love this. You ready for the answer? Some of you did get it. All right, our answer is to get to the otter slide. Our otters actually do have a slide here at the zoo, and you'll be able to see them on their slide in just a minute. If the video plays, try again. There we go. So that's a good joke for you. If you are like me and you tell jokes during Halloween, that's a good one. You can keep that one. Oh yes, tell them we say hi, absolutely. Good. Okay, so I love starting with a joke, but let's dive into a couple other things before we meet our special guests. So this program is closed captions. If you would like to see our live closed captions, find the CC button on your screen. We're also trying Spanish translation. We're not sure if we got it to work, so you can try it by clicking the globe if it is there, if you need it. We have Janice joining us. Hello. Thank you for joining. She is doing our ASL interpretation, our American Sign Language. Now, this program is a webinar, so that means I can't see you or hear you, but I've already been able to see a lot of your reactions. I can see hearts and smiley faces popping up when you see cool things. We also have the chat. So I saw some of you using the chat to tell me where you're from, which is perfect. You can add that in now if you want to tell me where you're from and you haven't already. We also have a Q&A or question and answer box. If you have a question, type it in there. Only type it once. The more questions we have, it's harder to answer. So don't keep typing the same question over again, but type your questions in the question and answer box. We have volunteers that will help to answer your questions for you. And then we will have polls. Polls will pop up on the screen. You can do them in their class. You can answer them on the computer, or just turn and tell your neighbor what you think the answers are. Okay, so we will interact in lots of different ways today. Let's see. Also, some of you may have seen on our website, we do have a couple of worksheets. You don't need them for the program, but if you do have them, you can do the one on the right together or do these afterwards. They're really fun, and we would love to see some of the things you draw afterwards too, and I'll tell you how to share them later. All right, one other thing with our ASL interpretation, it's best viewed on a computer instead of a phone or a tablet. So if you need to switch up devices, it's better that way. But if you're having any issues with any of our closed captioning or anything, pop it in the chat so that we know and we can help. This program will be about 45 minutes long, and we'll finish with some poll questions for you, and we are going to have a ton of fun. Okay, so we got our joke. I'm going to look at where you're from. Texas, Mexico and California, New Jersey, Alaska, Hawaii. Oh, that's amazing. That sounds much warmer than it is here. Chicago, Illinois, Kentucky, West Virginia, DC, Maryland. Oh my gosh, it goes on and on. Massachusetts, Arizona, New York. I could keep going. I love seeing all of you join from so many places. I even saw the Philippines, I think, pop up. Ontario, Canada. Welcome, everybody. I think some of you probably have joined last year, so thank you for joining again. And if it's your first time, welcome. We love having you here, and we hope you can join again. All right, let's keep going. So we have a few teammates helping us. Shelly will be helping, and you might hear her voice from time to time. She's going to let us know what questions you've asked to some of the keepers so we can answer them. Hello, Shelly.
Hi, Kaden. I am so excited to dive in for our aquatic animal adventures today.
We're excited to have you and love your puns as always. Also, thank you to Erica, who's going to run our animal cameras, Emily, and Jen and Eileen, who are all helping to answer your questions. Okay, so we have so many people from joining, but we are going to get started now. So welcome to our aquatic animal habitats. And what we're going to start with is a poll for you. So this is going to be a question that you can pop up. You can fill it in with the poll button right there. Or if you're in a class, feel free just to turn and tell your neighbor. All right, what is a habitat? Is it a place that plants and animals live? Is it where animals find food and water? Or is a habitat, oh, I just gave the answer, where animals find shelter? What do we think? I'm going to watch your polls come in. Tell your teacher if they're clicking the buttons for you. Good, and you can answer multiple. Awesome. As we're finishing that poll, I will show you're all getting it correct. Yes, to all of the above. A habitat is a place where plants and animals live, where they can find the food and water that they need, and where they have shelter. Good job, everybody. That was awesome. Okay, so we will end that poll for you, and we'll have some more coming up. Good practice on the polls. So, a habitat. If we picture habitats, we might picture them looking a little different. Animals live in all different habitats. Some are hot, some are cold, some are wet, some are dry. So you can see all the different habitats here. These are only 6. So we have a desert, a grassland, an ocean, some mountains, the Arctic, and the rainforest. There's plenty more habitats where that came from. So pop in the chat. We're talking about aquatic habitats today, water habitats. What other kind of habitats contain water? What would we call some of those habitats? Turn and tell your neighbor or pop it in the chat. Good, I see good answers coming in. Rivers, lakes, oceans, ponds, wetlands, swamps. Oh, these are all so good. Vernal pools. Oh, that's one of my favorite. Salamanders live there. Absolutely. Good. Great answers, everyone. So there's a lot of different aquatic habitats, and today we're going to learn about a couple different aquatic habitats with our animals. Nice job. And our animals need 4 basic needs. So in these habitats, they're going to find 4 basic needs. We already mentioned them, so this will be a review. What are the 4 basic needs? Again, you can pop it in the chat if you'd like. If we think about deer in this habitat that they're staying next to, what kinds of things do they need? Great. And hopefully you are typing in or telling your neighbor, I see food. I see water. Good. So there's water. There's food. Shelter. Yes, they need a safe spot to get away from the weather or to get away from different animals. And air. Yes. Good. They need to breathe. Air is the hardest one to remember, but they do need to breathe. Okay, so all these habitats we're going to talk about, any animal that lives there needs to find these 4 basic needs for it to be a good place for them to live. Good. Now, Has anyone heard this word before? Adaptations. Adaptations. You can say it. Good. Some of you, yes, some no. All right. Well, adaptations are something that makes it so an animal can survive and thrive in the area that they're living or the habitat they're living in. So something that might give this animal ability to find food. Maybe they can see well underwater, right? Or see well in the dark. Maybe it gives them ability to dig well to find food. Or if we're looking at, oh, I see change colors. Yes, that'd be a great adaptation so they can camouflage and blend in. So this turtle is going to have some different adaptations. I will tell you a few, but then I want to hear from you. What kind of adaptations might an aquatic animal have? So this turtle's got a nice hard shell, right? They could use it for shelter. They can also hide in rocks and logs. They're good camouflaged. Good, I see that as an answer. They've got beaks for eating food. They have nails for digging up worms. And they can crawl into that box, that shell. Okay, so pop in the chat. I see some coming in, or turn and tell your neighbor, what kinds of things would aquatic animals have to survive? Good, I see camouflage or blending in. Maybe fins or gills so they can breathe underwater. Let's see. Maybe the ability to eat plants and roots, possibly. Strong bodies make them good swimmers, absolutely. Maybe a fin like a dolphin. Flippers. Good. Maybe sharp teeth. Yeah, like a shark. Absolutely. Great answers, everyone. So we're going to learn about a couple different animals today. We are going to visit and see some of their adaptations. But let's all take a second and see if we can guess who this animal is that we are going to first meet. All right, here we go. First animal is a mammal. So a mammal is not a bird or a fish. A mammal may have fur, give birth to live young, have milk. Okay. My teeth are sharp and orange. Does that narrow it down for anyone? I am the largest rodent in North America. A rodent would be like a mouse. I love to build with trees and sticks. So we are going to pop up a poll question. Who am I? Do you think I am a squirrel? Or a chipmunk? Or a beaver? Or an otter? Pop it in the poll or turn and tell your neighbor, what do you think it might be? We're going to give a second for the polls to come in and for you to share. Good. This is a hard one because there's a few different rodents on this list, but most of you are getting it. Okay, well, he will end in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And most of you've got it. We are going to look at a beaver today, a North American beaver. So I have a friend out in the exhibits with our beaver friend. Is everyone ready to meet our beaver? Pop it in the chat if you're ready. All right, good. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we've got our beaver spotlighted. Welcome, Ashley. And is that Aspen? Hold on, we need to unmute you. All right. Hello, Ashley.
Hello.
Welcome. Is that Aspen you have?
That is Aspen, yes.
Oh, awesome. Well, welcome, Ashley. Thank you for joining our program. We would love to hear from you about who you are, what you do at the zoo, and then tell us about our beavers' habitat and then some of their adaptations that help them thrive in their area.
Sure thing. So my name's Ashley. I'm an animal keeper here on American Trail. American Trail consists of a variety of different animals. They include otters, beavers, ravens, eagles, wolves, pelicans, seals, and sea lions. So right now I'm here to talk to you about beavers. And this is Aspen. So he's one of 2 beavers that we have here at the zoo. Aspen is 5 years old. and he is full grown, so he won't get any bigger. He came to us about 2.5 years ago from another institution. Aspen right now is eating some of his diet. So some of his food consists of a lot of different vegetables. That's broccoli, carrot, corn, sweet potato, and some biscuits. They also get leafy greens as well as different types of branches that they eat throughout the day. So you mentioned about habitat. So these beavers here, so again, we have Aspen, but we do have another beaver at the zoo, and her name is Poppy. So you may see her as well. But for habitat for these guys, they are, like you mentioned, semi-aquatic animals. So they live in the water and they can also be on land. So if you were wanting to see them, you'd go into a lake, river, or stream. That's where they'd likely be. And then they do come on land in order to get food as well, but they do eat in the water too. So they have a lot of adaptations in order to help them be semi-aquatic, and we can go over a couple of those. So if you look at Aspen closely, you can see his front digits. He has 5 digits on his hands, and they enable him to grasp food. So such as he's doing right now. He can also grasp different types of branches like that easily too. Also, when he's underwater, it allows him to easily grasp things. Another adaptation they have, if you look right here at his nose, he is able to close his nostrils when he goes underwater, so he won't get any water up his nose, which is a great feature to have. Also, his little ears right here, he is also able to close those. So when they go diving down under the water, they can hold their breath for up to 15 minutes. But again, when they dive, they're able to close their ears as well as their nose, which is pretty unique. Another adaptation that they have is that if you look at their eyes closely, you may not notice anything different now, but if he was underwater, he would put on a clear pair of, it looks exactly like goggles, if you want to think of it that way, but it is called a nictitating membrane, and it is essentially a clear eyelid that goes right on top of his eyes and it enables them to be able to see underwater. So exactly like a pair of goggles. So that's pretty unique for these guys here. Another thing is their lips are able to go over or under their teeth. To do that, they can eat underwater. So some of the branches and sticks that they eat are in the water, and they can able to eat them without drinking any water at the same time. And another adaptation that they have, which is pretty neat, if you look at their fur, these guys have 2 different types of fur. So they have this thick fur right close to their body. It's very thick, and that is kind of like a wetsuit. So it keeps them completely dry. They are not wet at all when they're under the water. And then they have these guard hairs right here on the outer layer of their coat, which actually have water droplets on them because that keeps the water off of the inner coat that they have, which is pretty unique. So when they are diving underwater, they don't feel the wetness of the water at all. And another thing that's pretty neat for beavers, which is pretty cool, he's sitting on them right now, but their back feet are actually webbed. So they are able to help them when they are swimming in the water. And last but not least, they have this really unique tail, and it's very flat, and it kind of looks like scales on it. But the scales, or the material that the tail is made up of, is keratin, which is the same thing as your fingernails. But that tail actually helps store different fat in it, and it keeps them warm during the winter time. It also is really good when they are moving around in the water. It helps as a rudder for them as they're moving and swimming in the water. So that's kind of a couple adaptations that beavers have that make them pretty unique as aquatic mammals.
That is awesome. Thank you, Ashley. Shelly, did we get some questions? I saw a bunch coming in the chat. Everyone, put your questions in the Q&A box if you can, and that way they'll be answered. But Shelly, what questions do we have about Aspen?
We have gotten so many questions about Aspen and beavers in general. Rose was wondering, where around the globe do beavers live?
This is a North American beaver. So they can be found all across North America in different lakes, rivers, and streams. So they're not going to be found in the ocean, but they can be found in other types of water areas, but all throughout North America for these guys here. They are the largest rodent in North America. They are not the largest rodent in the world. That would be the South America capybara.
So interesting. One of the things we learned about was that animal habitats have shelter. Seth was wondering, why do beavers build such big lodges?
The lodges protect them from the outdoor weather. So these guys actually build their lodge. They build it with different types of sticks and branches, and they will use mud as well in order to pack it together to build their lodge. Lodges can be fairly big because not just one beaver lives in there, but a family group of beavers. So it will be at least 2 adults, and it will be their kits or their offspring from that year, as well as possibly the previous year. So there can be up to 9 beavers in one lodge. It just depends on how much food availability that they have. Beavers are very territorial. So if there's not enough food in the area, they will tell their offspring of the previous year that they need to move out and find their own territory of their own. But lodges are pretty unique because they do provide shelter for these guys here. And what's neat about it also is that they have underwater entrances and usually more than one entrance into the lodge.
Very, very interesting. We're getting a lot of questions. Abby also wants to know, what is Aspen's favorite food? I know that we see him here eating corn on the cob. Does he have a favorite food?
I would say corn is his favorite food. Corn is probably his favorite food. Next to this biscuit that we have right here, this is rodent black. And he does tend to favor this biscuit as well. But I would say corn is his favorite, and next to this biscuit.
We are getting tons of great observations that students are making specifically about the beaver's tail. What do they use their tails for? Is this an adaptation for them?
Sure. So beavers do have a very broad, scaly tail. And it is pretty thin, but again, it can provide fat stores in the winter for them. It's used for a lot of different things. The first thing is to help them swim in the water. It's used as a rudder to help steer. Another thing that it's used for is to help communicate with other beavers. So if he was in the water, if Aspen was in the water swimming, and say a predator came up, or if a keeper accidentally startled him, he would slap his tail on the water surface. It makes a very loud noise. And then that noise can alert other beavers in the area that there's a potential predator around. So the tail is used for communication. And then lastly, the tail is used as a balance tool. So if he is on his hind feet, which again are webbed, if he's standing on his hind feet, that tail there allows him to keep his balance while he's trying to stand.
That's so interesting. Now, we mentioned that they build lodges out of trees, but here at the zoo, we give our animals shelter and food, the things that they would need in their habitat. Do we still give them wood to chew on?
We absolutely give them wood to chew on. So I have 2 sticks right here that Aspen can choose from. He'll probably take one into the lodge and then come back for the other one. Since beavers are rodents, their teeth are constantly growing, which means they need to be worn down. And in order to do that, they need to use sticks in order to chew and wear their teeth down. They do consume the outer layer of the bark. It does have nutritional value. So Aspen and Poppy will eat the outer layer of the bark, and the rest of the stick they will take to their lodge or their dam. But if they take it inside their lodge, they have potential to line the inside of their lodge with different types of sticks in order to continue to build it. And then also, especially in the wintertime, they may grind it up into very, very fine material. It looks exactly like mulch, and they use that in order for bedding.
That sounds like a very comfortable bed. We had a great question from Archie, an observation about their fur. How do they have this fur that doesn't get wet?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like I said, they are 2 different types of fur. So they do have this inner fur, which is really thick and very fine right there. You can kind of see it. So that goes all the way down to their skin. And again, it doesn't allow water in there. And then he has these extra hairs that are a little bit longer, and they're called guard hairs. And they're essentially guarding that inner fur so it does not get wet at all and will not get Aspen's skin wet. So you can see maybe a good look here. There are water droplets that just hang out on the guard hairs, and they don't even get to that inner fur.
So interesting. They look very, very fluffy. Our last question about beavers, because we have so many animals to get to today, can you tell us a little bit about their natural habitat in these wetlands? How do they impact their habitat?
Sure. Beavers live in different areas where there's water. And what they do is they like to stop the water. So their lodge does not continue down the stream. And so they'll build what's called a dam. And when they build a dam, which they build with sticks and mud and different types of leaf material, which blocks the water off, and it makes essentially what's called a pond. That's where you'll get different types of ponds or different types of wetlands. It provides home to a lot of different animals, such as salamanders, fish, different types of birds. And that is kind of good. They're also called engineers of different habitats because of that. So they just create new habitats for different animals just because they're living in the area.
That is amazing, Ashley. Thank you for those questions, Shelly, and everyone else. Salamanders are one of my favorite animals, so thank you, beavers, for making habitat for them. And I did see that James said that the longest beaver dam is nearly 3,000 feet long, which I had no idea. And our keeper you're going to meet in a second confirmed that. So super long, my goodness. Ashley, I have one more question for you. If we were to want to help beavers have a nice habitat to live in, what are some things we could do to help?
For these guys, it's to keep the waterways clean. So any pollutant or anything that ends up in the water, you could always make sure you dispose of trash in the proper receptacle. If not, trash can go into waterways, which essentially can pollute water, which does affect the animals, especially the ones that are semi-aquatic to full aquatic animals. So whenever possible, please put your trash in the proper receptacles and recycle as well.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Wave bye to Aspen. See ya. Bye, Poppy, as well. Bye, Ashley. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, we're going to meet another animal. But before we do, I have another quiz to see who we can figure out what this animal is. Remember, we're talking about aquatic animals. So, if we are going with this one is not a mammal. So, who wouldn't be a mammal that might live around water? I am very good at fishing. Makes sense if they're living around water. I sound like this. Okay, sometimes this can be quite loud. Are y'all ready for it? Here we go. It's very squeaky. Okay. That might have given you some clues, but with this animal in movies, they usually use a different sound. So we'll see. And this will hopefully help you. I am America's national symbol. Okay, so your choices are a bald eagle, a hawk, an oriole, or a pelican. So it's some kind of bird. Which one do we think it might be? Turn and tell your neighbor or pop it in the poll. Most people are getting it. All right, so if you said bald eagle, you are correct. So good job, everyone. Now, the sound you heard was a bald eagle, but normally when you hear things in movies or TV and there's an eagle there, usually they play a hawk sound because hawks sound a little more scary and intense than the squeaky eagle. So good fun fact for you. Okay, we are getting ready to meet our next animal. We've had a lot of fun with our beaver and our eagle, right? If we're thinking about a beaver habitat while we wait for our next animal, pop it in the chat. If you were a beaver, what type of habitat might you have? What will you want it to look like? Okay, we said beavers are living kind of in wetlands blocking up streams or rivers. Ah, I see someone wants a den. Yes. A lot of branches and vines. Good. A wetland. Good. Are you going to want to see a lot of plastic bottles floating around? Or other bits of plastic trash? Yeah, I see people saying no. So a clean habitat, right? Good. Oh, these are great. Good job, everybody. Okay, so we're wanting trees. We're wanting a clean habitat, lots of sticks and leaves. Awesome. Okay, we are almost ready for our next animal. So here we go. I am going to give you some clues for voting. I am a mammal. So we're back to a mammal just like the beaver was. I love to eat fish. My habitat is the ocean and rocky shores. The poll will pop up in a second, and I think noises that sound like this. Now, this one can sound like a human for a second, so it's a little traumatizing. I apologize. Here we go. Sounds like screaming and then some barking. Good. Okay. So our poll is up. Do we think it's a dolphin, a whale, a seal, or an otter? I see some guesses for all of them. It may have helped once we played the sound to narrow it down a little bit. All right. I am going to end the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Did everyone tell their neighbor? All right. It is a seal. So if you got seal, you are correct. So you can see most of you got it. Good job, everybody. They do sound pretty similar to a sea lion, too. They're a little more barky sounding, but good job. Okay, I see our next guest. Let me stop sharing my screen, and we are going to start sharing this one. And we are going to meet Sam and I think Gunther. Hello, Sam. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sam. I'm one of the animal keepers here on American Trail. I've worked here for 4 years now, but I've been a keeper for about 10 years. So I work with all the same animals that Ashley worked with too. We work together most days. And then this is Gunther here. So Gunther is our adult male gray seal. We have 4 seals here at the zoo. They are all gray seals. Gunther is going to be the largest. You do see a difference between males and females. We work with him in the same way that we do with our beavers. We do different training sessions. Some of those are to help take care of their medical needs. Some of them are to help teach people about seals and sea lions, just like we're going to do today. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about some of the adaptations that Gunther has to live in aquatic environments. So gray seals are found in the North Atlantic Ocean. They live on rocky shores in the ocean. So you'll find them on big rocks, you'll find them in ice and on sand, but they spend a lot of time swimming in the water. So if you look at Gunther's body, you'll see that he has a streamlined torpedo shape, and that's to actually help him swim quickly and efficiently through the water. So you see that he has little flippers and he doesn't have any ears. And these are all adaptations to help him swim really quick. So some other adaptations that we'll talk about are how they move through the water. So again, looking at his body, we're going to send him to the water and see how he uses his body to swim. So seals, unlike sea lions, actually use their body to swim in the water. So he swims kind of like a fish or a shark. So you'll see him move his body side to side, and he uses his big rear flippers to help propel himself in the water. And then he uses those front flippers just to kind of steer around. So seals catch all of their food in the water. I bet you guys can guess what they eat. If you look right here in this bucket, here's a prime example. So they eat mostly fish. We feed out 4 different kinds of fish here, and we also give them squid. They can eat crustaceans, they can eat squid and octopus. They eat all kinds of animals that live in the ocean. So to help them catch these fish, if you look at Gunther's face here. One other adaptation he has are these really big, I'm gonna show you upside down apparently, are these really big teeth. So if you look inside his mouth here, you'll see he has this really big conical white teeth. And these are actually used just to catch the fish. They don't actually chew their fish, they swallow it whole for the most part. But in order to see the fish underwater, if you look at Gunther's face, you'll see he has really big eyes. So you can get a really close-up view of Gunther's eyeballs here. One thing that's really interesting about them, just like the beavers, you might have heard they have an extra membrane, they have an extra eyelid on their eye that acts like goggles. So when they swim in the water, that eyelid can come up and they can see even better underwater. But in addition to seeing, they also hear really well. So I know I mentioned earlier, they don't actually have any ears because that helps him to swim faster in the water. But if you look on the side of his head here, you'll see just this little hole. So this hole right here just goes into his ear canal, and they actually can hear really, really well underwater. So let's say they're out hunting and they go really deep. These guys can go as far as 1,000 feet deep into the water. So that's really deep. And when they're that deep, it's pretty dark down there. So they may not be able to see. So what they'll actually use are their whiskers. So if you see these big whiskers on his face here, these are really, really sensitive. They're called vibrissae, and they will help sense the motion of the water if fish are swimming around. So they don't actually need to be able to see them at all. If you look at Gunther's nose here, another adaptation that he has for swimming underwater is that he can close his nose totally shut. So he can shut his nose all the way and he can shut his ears so no water gets inside. Seals can hold their breath for upwards of 30 minutes. So that's quite a long time. And that helps them to be able to catch their fish, to be able to cruise around. Seals can also swim from anywhere from up to about 25 miles per hour, the very fastest. So one way you can relate that, Michael Phelps, who is the fastest swimmer in the world, human swimmer, his fastest speed is actually only 6 miles per hour. So seals swim quite a bit faster than humans. So I'm going to pull Gunther out of the water here and show you some other adaptations that he has to help him thrive out in his natural habitats, which again are rocky shores, sometimes on ice, different things like that. So if you look at Gunther's front flippers, he's going to give you a little wave here. You can see he actually has nails on them. We'll show you up close. So on his front flippers are these really long nails. He'll use these to groom himself a little bit, but he also uses them to help pull his big old body out onto the land. So gray seals can weigh anywhere from about 300 pounds, being a small female, to almost 900 pounds would be a really big male. So Gunther here actually weighs almost 700 pounds, and he can get upwards of 750 pounds during their breeding season.
Sam, this is so cool, and we are getting tons of questions, so I want to make sure we get some of these in. Someone asked a really great question about why would a seal come up onto land?
That's a really great question. So like I said earlier, most of their food is found all in the water. So when they come up on land, they'll come up to nap. So they like to sleep on land. They also sleep in the water though too. But another main reason for coming up on land is actually to have babies. So these guys you'll find in rookeries where they come up and they are breeding there, and then they also are having babies out on land as well. And they also just snooze on land.
That's so cool. We have a lot of questions about their nails and how fast they grow. Do you have to trim their nails?
That's a great question. So normally out in the wild, they're spending a lot more time out on rocks and some harsher substances that help to keep their nails worn down. Here at the zoo, we train them for all kinds of things, and trimming their nails is one of those things. So you'll see I can ask Gunther to present those nails to me, and he'll just give me his flipper here, and we'll just take the same nail trimmer that you take a big dog, and we'll trim these nails right here on the tip. But you do have to be careful because they do have a quick in there, just like a dog, so you don't want to get it too far down.
That's so cool. And we're getting a ton of questions about his skin and possibly his fur. It's a little hard to see, but he does have fur, right?
He does, yeah. So excellent questions. A lot of people wonder if these seals have fur. It can be hard to tell, especially when they're wet, because they don't have as thick a fur as like the beavers do, for instance. They don't have that double layer necessarily. The skin, the water does penetrate down to their skin, but if you look here, you can see he does have some fur. So that fur will help to keep them warm a little bit. But actually, what really keeps them warm, if you're looking here, is all this mass. So they have this thick layer of blubber, and that really helps to keep them warm.
That is really, really neat. So not just the really thick fur, but the blubber to help keep them warm. We had a great question following up. You said they come on land to have babies. How long are female seals pregnant, and how many babies do they have at one time?
Good questions. So seals are actually pregnant for almost a year. They have what's called delayed implantation. So in order to make sure that they're having babies at the most optimal time of the year, when there's a lot of food available and the weather's right for them, they have delayed implantation for about 3 months. And then their actual gestation, when they're growing that baby, takes about 9 months. And then they usually only have one baby at a time. The babies are pretty big and they want to put all their energy just into one. And they'll nurse them for about 3 weeks before they go back out into the ocean, and then they're on their own.
That's great. We are getting tons of questions. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get to all of them, but we did have somebody see you put what looked like eye drops in Gunther's eyes. Were those eye drops?
They were. So these right here are Gunther's eye drops. He gets 3 different kinds of eye drops. So I don't know if you saw when you got that close up of Gunther, he does have a little bit of what's called keratitis, which is just inflammation on his cornea. And just like humans, as seals age, they sometimes get some age-related issues on their eyes. So he is going to be 31 years old this year, which is really old for a seal. In the wild, the males usually only live to be about 25. So because he is older than what he would normally live out in the wild, he does have some age-related changes to his eyes, but we train them when they're really young to take eye drops, just saline drops initially, and then we'll train them for medicated drops as well. So you can see he knows to just sit here and hold his eye open.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm just smiling. I had no idea they had nails. I learned something new. I have one more question for you, Sam, and I know there's a ton more that I'll have to just look up later and see if we can find the answers. But if we wanted to help Gunther and his friends out in the wild, what are some things we can do to help their habitat?
That's a great question. So as you saw, we fed out a whole bunch of fish to Gunther. So here at the zoo, we feed anywhere from 100 to 200 pounds of fish a day. And all of that fish is sustainably sourced. It's all restaurant grade. So it's all fish that we could eat as well. But we make sure that we buy our fish from vendors who are using responsible practices and not overfishing, and that they're careful about what kinds of fish they're getting and try not to get other kinds of animals caught in their nets. So if you're a big fish eater, you can look at seafoodwatch.org and they will tell you what kinds of fish are good to eat. But another really important way that you can help all aquatic animals, just like Ashley said, is to help make sure your trash goes into the appropriate receptacles. And also another big way is just to try to reduce and reuse plastic things. So if you like to drink a lot of water, it's very healthy for you. If you can get a reusable water bottle, that's one really important way that you can help protect marine animals and try to reduce the amount of trash that ends up out in the ocean.
I love it. Those are all great ideas. Thank you, Sam. Everyone wave bye to Sam, bye to Gunther. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So I see other people put some things in that we could do too. Keep the sea clean. Absolutely. If you have a little fruit snack wrapper that you might open and maybe the little piece that you open blows away, some people think, oh, it's kind of small, it's not going to do anything. But that adds up. And eventually, if it rains, it works its way into the water. The beaver might see it, the seal might see it, or many other animals. So yeah, making sure, picking up litter and making sure our trash and recycling goes in the right places. Awesome. Okay, so just like our beaver, if we are thinking of us as a seal, what do we want our habitat to look like? What kind of food, shelter, well, we need water, right? What kind of water? We want salt water. Put it in the chat. I see clean water. Absolutely. We want a clean sea. Good. Plenty of fish. Good, Gabrielle. Absolutely. Tons of people are saying clean water. So we need stuff to eat. So not overfishing and making sure we're good that way. Clean water, good. So if we were a seal, we would want that nice clean habitat. And truthfully, me as a human, I would like that clean habitat too. If I would, I'm not going to go swim in the cold water like he likes, but if I were to swim in the ocean, I would want it to be clean just like our animals. So we can help by doing that. Okay, a couple more questions for you. Thinking about our aquatic animals, what aquatic animal might you want to be? Would you want to be a beaver like Aspen or Poppy, an eagle, a seal like Gunther, or an otter? Or is there another aquatic animal you want to be? You can pop it in the chat if you're thinking, I would rather be something else. I saw a lot of people really hoping to have a dolphin, so maybe some of you would like to be a dolphin. I see whale, dolphin, eagle. Good, everyone. Ooh, a seahorse. That would be fun. A shark. A bunny. Oh, yes. They're not super aquatic, but they're great animals. I would love to be a bunny. A killer whale. Good, everyone. Those are great. Pop in the poll, turn and tell your friends. That's perfect. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. Looks like we have most things in. And I will share. A lot of people just on those 4 would like to be an eagle or a beaver or something else, an otter. Otters are super playful and fun. I would also love to be an otter. Good. Okay, we'll stop sharing that. Okay. Oh, and an old lizard. Yes, those are really cool. Okay, so I had a ton of fun with all of you today. I would love to know from all of you, how are you going to go and help your local habitats? It doesn't have to be aquatic, but think about aquatic habitats around you, or even other habitats like a forest. Are you going to pick up litter or recycle? Tell your friends or family what you learned today. Learn more about animals and habitats, or go explore outside. Turn and tell your friends, tell your teacher, or pop it in the poll. I do a little bit of all of this. And that's great if you do too. I definitely pick up litter when I see it and pop whatever I can in the recycle bin. Use a reusable water bottle. I like to teach just like I'm doing with you, so telling friends and family is something I love to do. Awesome. I see lots of hearts. Thank you all. I hope you loved it as much as me. Pop in the chat. What was your favorite part about this program? I would love to know, while we're doing this ending poll, what your favorite part was. And I know we had a ton of questions. We don't get to everything. So if you had some questions, have an adult help you look it up if needed, or ask your teacher and really keep exploring and learn more about everything you want to learn about. Okay, I'm in the poll and I will share the results. Looked like most people were done. Tons of picking up litter, which is great, and a little bit of everything. So thank you all for your help with all of that. Our animals are going to appreciate it. Okay. Now, raise your hand. Oh, how about give me a thumbs up in the little things like that. What are they called? Emojis? Give me a thumbs up if you want to join next month. Good. I see lots of thumbs. Next month, we're going to have a lot of fun. We have a program called Wild Medicine. This will happen November 9th at 2 p.m. So we're going to talk to some veterinarians and learn about what they do and how they take care of animals, and you meet a different animal close up. Now, if you take time to go to our website and do the worksheets, draw your aquatic superhero, we would love to see it. So if you want to email us at that email, you can. You can also find it on the website, but anyone can pop your phone out, take a picture of this so you remember who to email, but we would love to see you. Thank you all so much for joining today. Gunther had fun, Aspen had fun, same with Sam and Ashley, and we loved having you here to join us. Get outside, go explore. If there's a zoo near you, go check it out sometime. But just get out there and enjoy nature. Help clean up some habitats and have fun observing what you see. Thank you for joining, everybody. We'll see you next month. Have a great week. Bye, everybody.